Print Your Games, the podcast about what's new and awesome in 3D printing for gamers. I'm one of your hosts, Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Param. I'm joined by
Kirsten Sowards, also known as Seventh Mastery.
Yep.
And we're
And
early.
we're a little early, but we're also late because somebody, me, fat fingered the scheduling time for the episode. Then we noticed you all in chat, so we decided to go live anyway.
Yay.
So howdy, y'all. It's really nice to be chatting with you. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about like the various 3D printing news of the month, like we like to do every so often. But before we get into that, Kristen, have you been 3D printing anything?
Yes, I actually just had to order another case of Sunlu, because I'm already 4 bottles through the case I got when it was on sale. Yeah, I've been doing, tentacles. There's tentacles moving across the screen.
I really like that one. That one's really cool and tentacly.
I'm very happy with it. It's a Dragon Trapper's Lodge Eldritch Dragon from the Eldritch Lodge a while back.
The dragon with way too many belly eyes.
Yes, has lots of belly eyes. I also ended up doing some of the cultists from that set for it and kind of pushing them in a nerdly direction so they'll attach to the Plague Army. And then I also printed they're called Fear Reapers from Epic. But I've also kind of painted them so that they can kind of attach in a different direction. So for a role-playing thing. So I've been kind of like trying to stretch a group of minis in about 3 different directions. And C. Catlett just said, check out Mini Monster Mayhem's March release. It looks amazing. I totally agree, because I've been slightly eyeing a Sylvaneth-esque army. And I think it's very cool because what they did with that release, since we're bringing it up, is they've made the dryad-like creatures, the tree people, because the Sylvaneth, if you're not familiar, they're like, tree people. Kind of what else? Yes, there's like a giant whale blimp thing that's made out of like living trees. But the dryads are attacking, but it's like they have like thorns that are shooting out from them, or like big, huge, like tree Hydra limbs that are like bashing in things. They look very primal, much less like Sylvaneth. And I do like the fact that they have like kind of the grown weaponry from their bodies and stuff. Right. But this looks way more like actual like tree anatomy that's been turned into and weaponized, and it's very neat looking. And I think I've mentioned that I've been slowly moving towards making an army like that. And there's that we just put up on screen for people who are listening. This is it's like a giant whale ship with like a blimp thing that it's been grown. The tree Hydra, people
feather wings, and it's got like a bark, like a seed for.
But if you look at the feather areas close up, they're actually leaves. And so it's like nature approximating, nature approximating life, approximating tech or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's like a three-step, shift through that. The Hydra people were super excited about. I still need to see this painted to fully understand the anatomy there, because there's so much going on with it. When you get to the little wood warriors, you'll see what I mean with like tree and like thorn limbs that they're lashing out with, and just very cool integrated
there's no
vegetal weapons.
These like woodland sprite warrior kind of creatures, there's no way on earth they're gonna fit on any sort of small round base. Like every single one of them has like there's one that has like 7 arms, and all of them flailed out in different directions, and one of them bursting wood from the ground in like a giant arc. It's just so hard and impossible to understand what's going on here.
It'll be interesting because the diagrams, because they actually do kind of like a technical picture next to their like render picture. And it does have them based, and they are on 25 millimeter bases. So I'm wondering if the physics are actually going to support it or not. The little guys. There's like a second category that's more like an ogre sized, like mini treant, and those are definitely like 50 millimeter. The Hydra, I think, is a 75 millimeter. But yeah, they're based. So it'll be interesting to see how they line up. Speaking of bases, because we talked about it,
tree spirit thing. Yes, really cool.
Yes,
I'll show that your cool tree spirit.
Okay, pull up the tree spirit.
Yes.
Yes,
Like, I don't know what I'd use this for in any game, but it's awesome.
I actually bet
it's like
you could get wood elves on those as mounts, and I think they would look so cool as cavalry. I know it's like very artsy.
Yeah,
be
so
hard
it's
to
kind of
base.
like a really awesome deer made out of bark and leaves. And it's got like a nice standard pose where the tail is just like this giant wash of leaves as big as the model. And then an action pose where it's like leaping off of some leaves and mushrooms and it just looks amazing. And I don't know what it is, but I want to paint it.
Yeah, I did some of their ice ones that were kind of similarly like kinetic and very like over the top. The dynamic poses, yes, see, Catlett just said that. Yeah, and they work a lot. Like it's a lot more coherent once you get some color on them. So I've always kind of been a little nervous because I'm like, oh, this thing looks like it's all over the place. But you print it and you're kind of okay, I'm getting a little more, and then you prime it up, and especially if you like to do a zenithal on it, their anatomy starts to become much clearer. But yeah, the organic energy in the pose is awesome. So I'm glad C. Catlett brought that up because that's actually one of the next things I've been looking at, and the reason I ordered more resin.
You mentioned some bases.
Oh yeah. In my like kind of nesting doll of different critters that I've been working with, I wanted to do kind of a zombie analog for the kids D&D game I'm running in 2 weeks. But I wanted it to not look like fall apart gross. I don't want to give the kids nightmares. And so I found in Mammoth Factory, and I've on and off really liked a lot of their releases. But they did, they're called Blind something. I don't know. They kind of remind me of Grimlocks. Got kind of big pointy ears, and their eyes have vanished. They've been like melted away. And the idea is in that particular scenario, the Sorrowborn are like stealing the will of the people and turning them into these zombie-like creatures. And I like the idea that they became quote unquote blind by their fear when they get transformed. So it's like that'll be really cool. But and I totally understand when they did this. And actually, it's funny because many Monster Mayhem has been having some problems with this. They've been having secondary sales that were unauthorized. And so what they did for Mammoth Factory is they're irregularly posed, and you have to use their base, even the 25 millimeter ones. Because normally I'm like, I'll just use the ones. We did a whole thing about swapping bases last episode, and I was trying to do that, and they were irregular and not contacting. And so I was like, oh crap, like how can I? And so I was trying to adjust the angle. I was like, no. And I finally went back and downloaded their bases, and their bases are 3D, but not like overtly 3D. They're just like barely 3D. But you need to contact them with that. And then of course, if you look on the bottom of their bases, they like Dragon Trappers, have a watermark in the base. Right. And so it was a way to make sure you were using their base and make sure like one more level of protection for their content, which I totally
really dislike that tack because like the freedom to use your own base is kind of important for a lot of reasons.
Totally agree. But fortunately, at least when I did pull those, yes, Catlett says do some green set, green stuff.
Like sanding your green stuff, but like I don't want you to add more work to my.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry.
When I ended up downloading them because I was kind of in a time crunch, and I'm of course just printing like a mad person. They fortunately did already have magnet slots in them, so I'll give them a point for that.
Magnet slots good. Yeah, and I've run into like some issues with magnets lately, where when I'm 3D printing bases, like when I decide that I'm going all in, I'm just going to 3D print the base. And ironically. So there's a few different styles people go with, like the concave in the inside base or the nice solid flat base. Like there's nothing, and each of those have different advantages. So the concave on the inside actually grips to terrain better if you're not using anything else besides the base, because like the little hook will like grab onto edges and grass and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
But then you have to figure out what size magnet goes inside that concave that will still be flush with the bottom. And because of print irregularities with resin printing and bases, it's sometimes hard to get that consistent across bases.
Yep.
If you do the solid smooth thing, they'll slide around like an ice skater, but it makes it very easy to use something like these from Litco. which are sticker magnets that are designed for miniatures and sized for all the proper bases. So I've got a whole bunch of these in a drawer for all the different possible base sizes, and I just really like it. And Katla is telling me that I've gone 90s cell phone quality on my video. There's been a lot of that lately. I do not know why my internet has been so poor lately.
Maybe it's between you and Restream somewhere. Yeah, I actually for the kids minis used Bite the Bullets elemental base set that they did, because I was trying to make them all have an obvious energy thing so that they all kind of feel special and different. But they had in that base, it's not quite a dime, but it was like a decent sized depression. And I'm sure I'll get the magnets because I already bought like bulk, a whole bunch of like 2mm by 5mm or something. I don't know. They're really small, but like I can still get one in there. And so it'll work, but I'm definitely gonna have to like get a lot of glue or something in there to get it to stay put.
Okay. Well, I'm not really sure which one is the option that is best for me, because I like both of the options. But sure. I think the real option is to do something like a Cobalt Keep base and just not 3D printing it.
Sure. I've become obsessed with those translucent for flyers.
Oh, really?
For flyers. So I've just been getting those, either the pre-made ones if they're like low, or some STEM ones. But someone did get me some translucent resin for Christmas for crystal, like really like high quality transparent flight bases, and so I'm still trying to find some sculpts for that. And I keep finding Space Marine like smoke plumes,
right?
Which will work for a lot of sci-fi stuff, but I if any sculptors are listening, I'm still waiting for some magic fantasy flight curly mist of some kind that I can put a lot of figs on. That'd be great.
Yeah. This might have to be you become the change you want to see in the world.
I feel like it's getting on. How about, let's see, it's March. If no one's done any by the end of the summer, maybe I'll take my hand at sculpting some. We'll see.
Joseph Wonder is talking about spaceship fly bases. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I also want some that I can double up as like pestilence falling from some Necro flies. Sorry. Now we've talked about my projects for way too long. Go ahead.
No worries. You have much more going on with your projects than I have. My project has been I painted more rats.
More rats.
More rats.
Although I have been very impressed with the big rats, I have to say. Those the new Avatar and the ogre rats look pretty cool.
Oh yeah, the big rat goddess lady is great. I like the rat goddess lady. And at her base, there's like a little cheese restaurant with little rat helpers eating cheese at the cheese rat restaurant below the rat. I just love the OPR rats. I'm sad that they're coming to a close soon. And I mean, I'm very hyped for the stuff that we'll be making later.
Happy for you, but I'm ready for some different stuff, especially since I bought an annual.
He's a good rat. He's a good rat.
They are adorable, and I'm sure they'll come back. There'll be probably another wave someday, right? Maybe.
And
maybe.
But these are all. This is like because the rats are a horde army. This is just the speed painted army. Like, and I don't just mean speed paint, though. I also mean speed paint because I'm using a whole lot of army paint speed. But like, this is just like. I'm trying all the speed chop techniques. I tried slap chop. I tried just zenithal and this. And I even went back with these ones and I did my pale sand dry brush over top of everything to channel my inner Dana Howl.
Yep.
I'm about to call it a Daner Howl.
Daner Howl.
Oh, my accent is thick lately. And so like it's just like whatever I can do because I need a billion little furry boys. And I just have to get them out as fast as possible. And I have had like no time to do a whole lot of hobby stuff lately. And it's driving me crazy because I've been doing too much hobby stuff lately in the other form. So that's been crazy.
I fault you not. Ever since Dana pointed out in her video about speed paint that glazes and that contrast in speed paint or glazes, I've been definitely headed that way, like that dragon. And actually, I think everything I've painted has been a pale sand glaze over lately. So
I am going to have some fun with it. But that's it. That's pretty much the only project I've got to talk about right now. And I'm, so I was talking with Crystal about my little. This is just an example of somebody just taking. So remember how I was like, I'm going to 3D sculpt this really cool base, the paint palette, silicone paint palette.
Yeah.
And like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to 3D print it, and I'm going to have a reverse mold, and I'm going to have a silicone mold of this paint palette, and it's going to be awesome.
And then people already asked where it was.
Yeah, but no. And then I was talking to Crystal Fraser the other day about it while we were chatting minis, and she just this is brilliant. She just grabbed a bunch of small bases and glued them to a box, and then poured silicone into the box and made one while I was chatting with her.
Nice.
With no fancy 3D sculpting or anything else. It was just brilliant. Oh,
sometimes
gosh. I just got
the analog is right there. Although I am impressed that Crystal had poor silicone just laying around, but not surprised. Everybody? Yeah, no.
Oh,
no. Do you?
Yeah.
No, okay. I do not. Okay, and you get
I
with
got
the
a
times,
little
apparently.
bitty tiny box that I was going to experiment with making some dice molds with, and never got around to making the dice molds with, because like I've been watching the Dice Goblin channel, and it's just been like Rabinator, which is like the most addictive channel for gaming nerds. Like Rabinator is a custom resin dice YouTube channel, and like goes through all the processes on how you do this with all the different methods and making really cool dice and how to 3D print your own dice and all that jazz. So if you're interested in making your own dice, definitely go check out Rabinator.
Yeah, I'm on Dice Talk among my other niches in there, and I'm a casual observer, but man, there are some amazing creators who just do the weirdest, wildest stuff. I just barely got my first liquid core sets, and that's amazing to me already. And now like people are putting like whole little dioramas and stuff inside dice, and I'm like, how?
I love
so tiny.
The little liquid core versions that have like the perfect little sphere in the middle with all the cool swirly mica powder awesomeness.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. They're just out of arm's reach.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really want to custom design my own dice though, because that's kind of where my passion is. It's like I want to get in Blender and custom sculpt some really awesome dice with my with my little Param logo on it, and then I want to do that. But that's another hobby on top of another hobby, and it combines 3 hobbies.
It does. I'm kind of like this point, organizing my STL files is a hobby, let alone printing. Yeah. It's and then painting, and then running the games. So
the next real hobby I do want to uptick is I want to deep dive into miniature photography, and I took some classes at Gen Con on it, and it's super fun.
Cool.
And I happen to have a studio.
I happen to have a studio next to my silicon fabricator and my.
Everybody has that. This is okay. So you got the paint station, the airbrush station. You've got the 3D print section. You've got the woodwork shop, and then you have like my little stash of all the silicone molding stuff I need. And all of that here is in the studio, which has like all the bracing and bracketing I need to put up studio lighting everywhere, and all my camera equipment. And I'm pretty sure I'll figure out how to use a drone on this somehow.
So isn't this also your period tavern though?
It is. So there's one corner of the tavern that is just like, ignore that one. Ignore that corner. That's where the tech has invaded. So all
do you have it like made up to look like a barred stage yet, where you could just kind of draw your like curtains around it?
Allow me to give you the tavern tour. We have bookshelf area.
If you're listening, we're now going on the mobile param cam.
You've got the little cubes that have all my terrain in them, and all my big fancy minis live on top of that. My big TV. You've got the game table itself with all the game tableness.
Some swords.
It's currently junked up with like way too many copies of RuneQuest that I got for $1 a piece.
Nice.
In the back, you've got the fireplace and the swords and all the cool custom art that people have done for me. And then mini fridge and extra paint storage. And then here near me is where you have,
all the tech,
trash, and all the painting stuff and this stuff, and then all this that makes the streaming studio happen. Yeah, that's a very shaky tour. But I'm super hyped to get back into hobbying for sure. Once I have a lot of new free time. Beyond that, I've not really been doing much on the 3D printing front, and so, but I have been drooling over new printers.
Yes,
you remember at the beginning of the year. Yes, at the beginning of the year when we were doing our predictions, I predicted that this would be the year that we finally got a resin printer that could print as big as filament printers could at the hobbyist level, at the enthusiast tier. And by that I mean like some of these printers did exist, but they were like $13,000.
Right.
That's not exactly affordable, even if you want to.
I'm still intimidated by the price tag if this is the one I'm thinking it is, but
yeah. So it is the Galaxy One is the name of the printer, and it is from Emark 3D, and this is a Kickstarter, so be cautious if you choose to engage with this.
That was eerie. C-Catlet pops up the second you start to say it. Like, apparently C-Catlet backed it, so
oh wow,
exciting.
So this does seem to be one of those Kickstarters where the thing already exists, and there are like review videos this already out in the wild, and it's like delivery is May of this year.
Oh wow.
So this is one of those, basically it's a pre-order, not really a Kickstarter. It is a 17-inch screen, which works out to 200 by 400 by 440. And it's a laser SLS printer, as C. Catley is pointing out. So not a UV mask. So that does mean very high accuracy. It's got 25 accuracy on it. So this is like finer. This is like on par with like the 8K mid-size printers, like the Saturn 8K or the Saturn 2.
Okay.
And the build plate is, like I said, 400 millimeters by 200 millimeters by 440 millimeters. That's 17 inches tall.
Okay. I was wondering how high it was.
That is 16 inches wide in American. And it is just over 8 inches on the other axis.
Okay.
So that means that it is basically 2 Ender 3 plates side by side in volume.
Wow. C-Catlet says more models on screen but longer print times. Not whole screen at once.
Not sure. Yeah, it's not as slow as FDM. It is still faster than FDM, but it's not as fast as some of the full screen SLA.
Okay.
And so that means that it's still going to be a fast print. It's not going to be days and days and days to get models out of this thing. It's going to be you're going to get models in hours.
Gotcha. Okay.
But because that laser does move fast, a whole lot faster than any print head can move. Even the print head we'll talk about here in a few minutes, because this isn't the only printer we're going to talk about this week. But the basic gist is, and also you can load this thing up with 2 resin bottles in advance, as well as fill the thing up with way more than 1 resin bottle, because this thing is going to chug resin. You might have to get that deal on that Sunly resin that you've been teasing me about.
Right.
Yeah. And they've got they got a
$12.99. Is that what it is?
$15 or sorry, 1,500 is the pledge in if you didn't
get the early.
If you didn't get the early. And the early was pre-launch of the Kickstarter. It was like an early, like pre-launch buy-in that you had to do. Yeah.
Wow.
So 1,550 is what this is, and honestly, that is still one of the cheapest prices I've seen on a printer anywhere close to this size. It's like a third of the price of the competition.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just makes some absolutely massive print. Like they're just 3D printing full terrain pieces on this thing. Those big old dragons and statues that you have to put together on your Saturn by printing it in 4 or 5 pieces. Nah, just one go. They 3D printed a Thanos that I think shows it off really well. That is 17 inches tall, and they show it next to a basketball that only comes up to his hip.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that thing's big.
Whole cosplay pieces could be printed on this. You could print a chess piece from a cosplay off of this. You could print hats super easily on this. This is just huge. This is absolutely massive, huge possibilities here. Like this is one of those situations where you could 3D print the whole dungeon floor at once.
I was about to say that
pre-assembled.
Really cool terrain quality stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still, 1,550. I don't know.
Herberto in the chat is saying it's one of those a plate an army. Absolutely, you could print if you were playing any sort of army game, you could print basically 1,000 points worth of models in one go on this thing. So it's crazy. It's a little bit more than like I would find useful for sure. But it's just so impressive that this is an option now. And this is the first one of these out there. That means that there's going to be more next year, and the prices are going to keep coming down with the price of resin keep coming down, the price of these printers keep coming down. It is soon going to be that we are going to be able to resin print just about anything we could FDM print without having to build a giant custom 3D printer that we can sit in like some people have done.
Sorry, I'm snapping the chat panel here because KC Miniatures says they found some flying bases I should check out, so I don't want to lose that.
Awesome. And so, would you get this massive, super mega 3D printer, or is 1,500 too much even for the ability to print an entire dungeon in a night?
Yeah, would I like it? Sure. Am I getting it anytime soon? Probably not. Unless
and this really
windfall.
Yeah, 1,500 is definitely not is way above a lot of people's budget, especially for a device like this. And also, this should not be your only printer. Like even if you were to get it, it would be a niche use printer, because in a lot of ways, something like a Saturn is much more practical as far as printing in size. And that makes sense. So even if I bought this printer, I would still need a smaller printer around for day-to-day printing, and I would only crack this out for when it was time to print the beasts.
Yeah, something big.
Yeah. But just like people talking about the Jupiter, C Catalyst points out in chat that the Jupiter is the same price of this retail, and it's half the size of build volume.
Fair enough.
It is gorgeous. It is still gorgeous. Also, this has a higher resolution than the Jupiter has. So this isn't that 25 UM resolution, both vertically and XY, which, as we talked about before, that's sharper than you can. That's sharper than the 35 UM that injection molding is at. So this is like beyond high quality possibilities are available on this.
Yeah, it's exciting, and I wish I could casually drop that, but until then, it makes me think that we're going to keep seeing similarly sized printers come down, which I think going forward we'll probably see something in the middle. I don't know. I like that Jupiter range, but cheaper maybe someday. We'll see.
If you want something half the size but also half the price, that brings us to Bamboo Labs P1P. That is finally hitting out in the wild. People are getting their hands on it in the wild and using it. Lots of reviews coming out for the Bamboo Lab P1P.
But that's an extruder.
This is an FDM printer, but this is an FDM printer built for speed.
Okay.
So Bamboo Labs, we talked about them last year when they debuted their first product, the X1C Carbon, or the X1 Carbon, which was a 3D printer absolutely kitted out and customized for complete speed. And there was it had an enclosure. It had like the custom tuning, and also a pretty hefty price tag. It was like $1,200 or $1,000, depending on how you kitted it out. And it is like 3 to 5 times faster than even a tuned up Ender or a Neptune.
So like a day or two, as opposed to taking me all week to make my terrain.
And the P1P is the affordable version of that same printer. So they basically take the enclosure out, the touchscreen, the computer gets swapped out. But what doesn't get swapped out is the accelerometer and the print heads and the parts of the printer that tunes itself and is able to hit those high-end print speeds.
Gotcha.
This does have compatibility with the multi-filament thing. So if you wanted to order one of those, you could, and then put it on top of this thing, like you could the X1 Carbon. But you give up a few quality of life things for this printer.
Okay.
But you keep the performance and you keep the accuracy.
What quality of life things are you losing, did you say?
Like the touchscreen and the little LiDAR sensor that actually like visually inspects the filament extrusion to do the adjustments there. Okay. You do get the vibration testing so that the accelerometer inside of it can compensate for the movement of the print head. It is a Core XY printer as well, so it is super fast in general and super accurate. It auto bed levels on itself. You are not involved in the process. The darn thing comes almost completely assembled. You basically have to put the Bowden tube on, put the bracket on the back, pull stickers off of it, and slap the computer LCD on the front, and it's good to go. There is been some widespread reports of quality control issues on this printer. Okay. So a lot of people are getting a really great printer, and a lot of people are also getting, there's something wrong with my printer. And some headaches with working with it. Bamboo Lab does seem to be good on the customer service end of things, so they are responding and getting parts out. But do be aware of that going into this thing. Still, it is probably the fastest printer you can buy on the market right now for FDM printing at this anywhere close to this price point.
What is that price point? Without having
to do a custom. $699.
$699. Okay. Yeah, it looks like chat's got a lot to say about it. The same quality issues you mentioned. Roberto says that some people in their Discord have printed some pretty cool stuff. And Joseph Wonder says the hot end is really good though. So
yeah, it has this weird custom hot end that has it automatically snips the filament loose and then ejects the leftovers for you, so that it changes the filament for it's kind of got a bunch of crazy high-end features. It even has the little poop chute at the back that the X1C has for the filament color changes. So if you did hook this up for a filament color change, remember to put a basket in the back to collect the little filament poops that it does.
Poop chute. Okay, I just want to make sure you said what you said. Okay, hopefully it's not a content warning we needed.
Yeah. Roberto says, it's got active reloading.
Active reloading.
Yeah, so it's a very, I'm super excited about this printer, but it definitely be aware that it does have some quality control issues that have been reported all over the place. But when it is working, with everybody that has used it, when it does work, it is so fast and so accurate that it's crazy. I want to get my hands on one of these so bad.
I don't like
Honestly,
the
I
idea
kind of
that
want the
you're
X1C, but I don't want to spend $1,000 on it.
right. But just the idea of gambling, on your unit, that spooks me. Can unleash
It
the
has in
filament.
its speed modes, it has like normal, fast, super, and ludicrous.
That's nice.
Yeah. Oh, so but basically, like we were worried last year that there wasn't a lot of innovation coming in the FDM space for a very long time. That all the attention was in resin,
Resin, yeah,
and
but seems
we're
like that's not the
seeing,
case. Yeah.
yeah, and it's new players. The old guard aren't giving us filament printers they're cool. Like, they're giving us good filament printers, but
But Elegoo
it's
hasn't
all
had a
these.
new printer for like a week.
Yeah, Elegoo, who traditionally isn't filament, they're giving us interesting filament printers. Bamboo Labs comes out of nowhere. Freaking Anchor, who makes power bank and charging cables, decides they want to build one of the best 3D printers that have been made, and they go to town with it. So I really, we're starting to see a lot of really excitement with this. And yes, I've saw in chat that Joseph Wonder loves his custom 3D printer. Yes, if you love your custom 3D printers and going to town with it, I am not here to discourage you from doing that. But I'm very glad that I don't have to build these things from scratch, because what I want to build are tiny little rat people and paint them and bash them together in games of war.
I just don't like the I'm going to spend all this time printing or painting tonight. I don't like going up to my printer and then realizing, oh, I had a fail, or oh, I've got to change the hot end, or oh, I've got to check my bands or my XY or whatever. Like, yeah, I just want it to work.
Yeah, wanting it to work is not bad.
Filthy casual.
There's one more advancement in the FDM space lately that is very exciting.
Oh?
Yes. Because one of the things that limits FDM printing is that people don't like to FDM print with supports, because supports are sometimes difficult to remove with FDM. They use up a lot of filament. They drastically increase the time that the print has to go with it.
I have bled for those supports.
Ew. Yeah, please don't bleed for supports.
Yeah, like, because I was like, oh, it's cool. I can just use my ungloved hands because it's FDM. It's fine. No, you can shred your hands off on some supports.
You will shred your hands. So Prussia Slicer coming back in here. Remember, we recommended a while back, before Lachi came around, we recommended Prussia because their auto supports were much better than G2 Box's auto supports for resin printing. Well, Prussia Slicer has always been like a really great FDM printing slicer too. Their 2.6 version, now last year they were teasing this and we talked about it a little bit, but now it's in 2.6 organic supports. And this is resin-like supports, so resin style supports for FDM prints. And I've got a picture here from Reddit by user Manbo, who has printed a big Naruto statue with it to kind of give you an idea of like what's possible with it. So instead of just like big blocks of material or even geometric blocks of material, it's these organic roots that start big at the bottom and then wind their way up and around the model to connect at very tiny points. And what this does is allow for more complex supporting structures. So like you can see here that the supports begin off of the model and then angle up into where they need to. So you're not having to pull stuff anchored to the base and rip it off, that could cause some damage. Yeah. And then when you remove the supports, you get a really clean looking print. It's almost like you just remove the supports from a resin print. So like this statue is like, it's a ninja statue, a Naruto ninja statue. So there's a scroll, like this was designed to be printed in resin. Like this is a blown up mini is what it is. It looks
like. I'm kind of surprised that looks that good.
Yeah. And it's just, and this so complex geometry now without the organic supports both let it get in there where it needs to be without like having to be merged to part of the model in two places. It's not just a big block of material printed vertically like traditionally has been done. And it also it uses so much less material because it's these trees are that means it's faster to print. You're using less material, and you're hitting more complex stuff like this. And there's been a lot of tree support experimentation in the past, and it's been kind of hit or miss.
Mm-hmm.
But these Prussia ones are much easier to remove and much more reliable in testing. So absolutely give it a give it a shot. Try some complex prints with a Pressure Slicer 2.6 organic supports is the phrase for it. Because we're seeing a lot of resin-like complexity models being printed with this, and up until this point, I almost wouldn't recommend anything be printed with supports for gaming because supportless was basically the way to go if you wanted to get stuff done quickly and with quality.
Well, and so many people were optimizing for it.
Right. This opens up a lot of possibilities. Maybe supports aren't a dirty word anymore when it comes to FDM printing.
I do like that. For my cheese whiz memory here, would you is Prussia pay membership or is it a free? I forget.
It's free.
Okay. Of course, I like the sound of that.
It is. It's free and open source.
Well, there you go. See, I should remember these things. C. Catlet says there is Cocoa Press FDM printing chocolate coming this spring.
That is a thing that exists.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd want to eat anything off of my horrible machine that makes.
I am not currently aware of any new developments in the 3D printing of chocolate, but it has been there's some very good machines that do 3D printing chocolate out there. They take little cute little rolls of hardened chocolate or different materials. You can do peanut butter and like a bunch of things that you would make candy out of. And you slide the little tube and it melts it like a hot end, and it's a FDM style printer. And it works. You can 3D print complex shapes and 3D objects. You can make a chocolate banshee if you wanted to. Obviously, you do want to try to go supportless with the chocolate options.
Well, you could eat the supports though. Do you want to lose that? I don't know. The cleanup would be much more fun.
Yeah. And the target market for that is more like bakers and cake makers and stuff like that, because making custom like the real practical use for this, like we've got lots of ways to make chocolate into cool shapes, but this would allow like very custom little bits like names or images or stuff like that. For your average hobbyist, probably not a lot of practical use of the chocolate, and it's not really capable of super fine detail. So you could just get like very like think early 3D printing print qualities with these things.
But you could have like a chocolate mud golem with peanut butter inside it.
That would take multi-material. I don't know if there's any chocolate multi-material printers. You would have to print it hollow maybe, and then
or you could print it hollow and just pipe the peanut butter into it maybe. Yeah. I am getting hungry.
I'm absolutely sorry. Thank you.
That was tandem hunger. I like it. This is good, at least for you. Artisan Guild cake toppers when P&D, Mike says.
Gosh, that would be hard because the support's required for those. You might want to head over to Fat Dragon Games and get some of their supportless minis, or Bright Miniatures supportless minis available there, because that's
I did have dragons on my wedding cake.
Fair. Were they edible dragons?
No, they were just Schleich dragons. However, the gold mound they were on was in fact edible.
Oh. Yeah. Oh gosh. All right, and let's see. That's all the news I have.
Dun-dun-dun.
Yeah, that's all the 3D printing news I've got. 2 new big old printers talking about chocolate and updated Pressure Slicer 2.6. So exciting stuff either way though.
Yeah, no, those look very, very promising. I promise I'm not a shill for Monolith Arts, but they do have another Kickstarter coming up soon. That's orcs. And I know, I always go for my big chaos demon-y stuff. Or they actually did a Sylvan thing that's going to go really well with those miniature monster mayhem, like a wood creature. Let's see. It's just pre-order right now. But I will remind people that they usually do free promo minis, and then there's always an early bird with them. And I figure lots of people like the orcs, and they remind me very much of kind of the Sauron Lord of the Rings. Let's see. I, of course, should have had that link already sent to you because I'm a jerk.
Yeah, I'm only seeing like an old thing they used to have.
No, this is a brand new thing. I promise it's coming out. I will try to get you the link to it in the show notes, but they are definitely a big orky army, and I don't know if you've seen their previous ones, but they always do troop style, so it will be ready for any OPR, Kings of War proxies for a lot of the orky type armies out there.
Square bases. You don't see a lot of square bases anymore.
Let's see. Now I'm aggravated because I can't find it, and I literally was buried in emails for it earlier. But I'm just saying, if you go to Monolith Arts, you can get on their pre-sign up for it. Like I said, usually it's cheaper and there's free stuff. Okay. University of Artists DM Stash has a great Magic Flybest. I do actually have that one, I think.
Yeah. I want to shout out to Gamic.
Yeah. I know why. You told me why the other day. I didn't realize that this is such a thing. Like, you're right, because I started going through and, because I buy your complaint, the Chaos Armies, if it's what I'm thinking it is.
Right.
And so I, of course, get tons of these minis. But
right. So one of the things I talked about on hey, what's missing in 3D printing a year or more ago, when we were looking at hey, what's out there, where the holes still, because there was a lot of potential models to make out there, and mainly the idea was to encourage people to make some of these models. One of the ones I had mentioned was that, hey, the Imperial Knight proxies, the big old Stompy robots for your sci-fi grim darkness, there was a ton of chaos versions of these things out there, like a whole ton. Wild
a lot.
Gamic, Titan Forge.
I think I have them all.
We're doing very chaosy giant robots, but the not so chaosy versions of these, like your I would say, how do you say, your normal giant robots, your grim dark style giant robots, your Warhammer style robots.
Typical servitors of the fascist empire.
Right. Yeah. Still covered with skulls, but less spikes.
But less spikes, less demonic grafted possession plates also.
Yeah. So Statin Forge or Statin Arts did one, forget which one it was there, but and it was kind of cool. They've done a couple of variations on it, but it's definitely a bigger twist on it. It stands tall. It's more iron giant-y. Which is still a very cool look. And there's been plenty of generic-y giant robots for your mech warrior love, and even a few Gundam-y ones if you really want to get your spiky hair on. But Gamic, who has been is the wrong tab. Gamic, who has been putting out a bunch of really high quality proxy armies out into the world, has got a big old Stompy robot that would be perfect for it. It's an original design. It's very reminiscent of what it is. It's got a chainsaw sword for a hand, big old shoulder pads, everything you expect for a grim dark Stompy robot covered in skulls for your fascist empires.
But that will definitely paint up to match your Space Marine chapter of choice, I'm sure.
Yep. Yeah, I do like that it has these carved. The shoulder pads on this are a little bit more ornate than normal. It's got this carved scroll work on it in Super 3D. That's going to be a really cool piece to work with there and get some like nice scripting. A model this big, you really want to take your time and do it up special. And it's got a little floppy crotch flag. I don't know why the giant robots need floppy crotch flags.
It has a loincloth.
They got them. Yeah,
that is ironically
got a loincloth
hanging below its anatomy, which would be very embarrassing or organic. But
but I'm happy with it. So I've been a Gamut superscriber for a bit now because they were simultaneously putting out high elves and awesome sci-fi stuff and space dwarves, and I just sort of kind of kept on. Don't Cat says don't pull a ninja on, include the hips on backwards. Okay, I'll note to avoid that.
Now I want to see that though, but yeah,
I do not know how their pre-supports are KC Minis. I don't know. I usually don't like using pre-supports.
Yeah, I usually do my own too with those.
I do the pre-assemble thing in Blender and then do my own supports.
That's really low for a tabard, James. I don't know.
Especially because a lot of like they've been doing a ton of Space Marine proxies lately, and those are just like piles of parts. It's like hands and shoulders and knees and toes.
Yeah, they did some dwarfs too a while back. Speaking of piles of parts, though, Daka Daka Store has a Bits Frontier started.
Bits Frontier.
And again, I think it is intended to be kind of towards chaos, but I would have to say, when I was looking at these shoulder pads, you could use them for a lot of things. Like, I rarely see something that could be used to model like more of a Space Marine, but for Eldar situation, you could probably get there with this. But like, there's a lot of themes in it, and I want to say there was 4, like a lunar theme. There's 4 different themes, and you can get the whole thing for like, I don't know, $49, I want to say, or it's like 15 per theme or something if you buy them separately. But that just started this week.
It's called the Apostate Legion. So yeah, this is definitely bits for more
chaos. But if you actually zoom in on them, look at them, they're not as chaosy as I would normally have expected, if that makes sense. They strike me as
and they're
very normal Space Marine-y, actually, to me.
The slanishy ones here. These are definitely 30K styled too. So these look like these are designed to customize Horse Heresy models. Yeah, absolutely. That's what they have them all showcased on. Okay, so yes, these are Horse Heresy custom bits. A good idea. Is it expensive pledge in?
15 if you just do a chapter, or I think 49 for all of them, all 4. So
very cool.
Make that choice yourself. It's a lot of pieces, though. It's a lot of bits. So,
all right.
So
we are running out of topics and running out of time. Anything else to throw on the pile?
No. Just trying to find Procreate lately here has been hard for me. So I don't know.
Oh no, you might have to mail order it. I
want to get the new colors anyway. So.
P&D Mike says, note on dwarves. I'm currently working on my March project. March of the Dwarves. Good pun work. I've just finished printed off and currently working on painting every single AG dwarf mini. I'm assuming you mean Artisan Guild there because they have so many dwarves. Artisan Guild is a great crew if you want some very Warcrafty style over the top dwarves. They've had like 4 or 5 different dwarf releases now. So you can cover everything from your berserkers to your rangery types to your covered in plate mail types to, for some reason, we have spears and ride goats. They have that type too.
Well, my big D&D game that has 3 different knights, I have different regional dwarven forces, and so it was really great for me to actually just go, okay, cool, this will be the aesthetic for that one, and this will be the aesthetic for that one. And so I actually think I'm using 3 of them and then a couple other releases.
Oh crap. See, Catless says sable brushes are becoming scarce. There's an import ban in the US for Scalincy sable hair.
Oh no. But makes sense. But oh no.
Interesting. We'll need info on that. All right. I don't know more than that, but oh boy. Well, everyone, that brings us to the end of this episode. If you want to find more, you can find us at printyourgames.com, where we'll have lots of past episodes and where you can subscribe to us and all the things, including the Spotify and the iTunes, where it would be really nice if you left us a review there because that helps boost the signal. You can find us on YouTube as well as Facebook and Twitter. And until next time, I'm Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Param.
I'm Kristen Sowards, also known as Seventh Mastery, and don't forget to use your screen protector.